hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Brittnee Smith podcast. I am your favorite host, Brittnee N. Smith, and this summer it is a strong friend summer. And so, if you're tuning in right now and it is the summertime, just know that this series that we're in is so good. And I want to say hello to all the strong friends out there. We are out to redefine what it means to be the strong friend. And so, for this series, I brought in a bunch of my strong friends to give you some insight to one, you are not alone in this strong friend fight, but also to encourage you that you can strong friend differently. Okay. We want to encourage you in that. And so today's episode, I have my friend Latoya Hammond. Hey, girl.
Hey, hey, girl, hey.
Yes, ma'am. And she is the founder of I Got You. She
Yeah,
is a blogger. I'm going to say turned podcaster. We just going to put it out there. I know she has some,
absolutely,
yes,
absolutely.
yes, I know she has some exciting content plans coming out. She is doing big things. And
Yes,
today's episode is about
absolutely.
the comeback crown, rising with grit and grace. And so Latoya is
Hmm.
someone who comes to mind when I think about bouncing back from hard things. If y'all look at her right now, she's beautiful. She's got this glow about her, and she does not look like what she's been through.
Thank
And
you.
so, yes, this episode is for
Mm-mm.
all of y'all out there who either are going through right now, or you have just come out of something and you need to get up, or you're doing good and you just need to put this in your
Yeah,
back pocket for the next thing that arises. Okay, so we're here to support you. Latoya,
right.
welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you. I'm so excited. I'm excited to be here with you. It's been a minute. It's been a long time coming, so I'm
Yes,
excited. I'm
it is.
excited.
Man, when I say I'm proud of this woman right here, y'all, because when she
Oh,
first
thank
came into my
you.
space, she ain't know what and who and why and where. And to see her now, y'all, she's an author, she's a
Oh,
speaker, she is a content creator, she is killing the game. So, Latoya, tell
thank
us in
you.
your own words who you are. You're welcome. Who you are and what you do.
Okay, well, like you said, I am Latoya Hammond, and so who I am, I will say one of my greatest, I think, positions or just my greatest roles I get to play in life. I am a mother of two amazing teenage boys. I am a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I am a mentor. I am, like you said, I'm an author, I'm a blogger, I'm a writer, content creator, motivational speaker. I have a heart for women to know their purpose, for women to understand that what they've gone through does not define who they are, but that our purpose is found in God and what He says about us. So no matter what you've gone through, no matter who left, it doesn't define you.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
that's me. And I always like to say too, I'm a whole vibe. Like sometimes it's hard for me to explain it all together. So I'm like, you just might just have to experience me.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And so tell us where I Got You came from and the
Oh
the kind of
wow.
story behind, yeah.
Okay, so it was probably about 2016, towards the end of the year. And typically, towards the end of the year, God will start to speak to me about the next year. And I clearly heard Him say, "You're going to go through some things, but don't worry, I got you." And I'm like, okay, like what am I about to go through? Like what's going to happen? Like what's going on? And so that just it stuck with me. And then it turns to a thing where because also I'm always saying that to people, like I'm always saying like no problem, I got you. Like cool, yeah, I got you. And so like the two just kind of came together. And I was doing a mentorship, a discipleship class at my church, and my pastor told this story about she was going through something and her close friends where they didn't even need to know exactly what she was going through. And they just saw her, they called her and just said, I got you. And so it just was a reoccurring thing that just kept playing over. And I'm like, I'm like, I need to do something with this because I'm like, it just resonates so much with me. And just being able to have friends or being able to be that one to where you can let another woman know that she's not alone, because I was dealing with that, motherhood, and at that time being a wife and working and trying to balance and do all the things, and you feel like you're the only person that's going through it, like nobody understands. And so that was really what birthed I Got You. And for me, it was just taking a personal responsibility to help get others to their unstoppable. And I just believe that when we as women can come together and support each other, when we understand our purpose, then we can link up together, we get to a place of unstoppable, but just really just like, I got you. Like, you ain't even got to worry about it. Like, I got you. You're not alone. You're not by yourself. I'm not going to let you go through this by yourself. I definitely believe just in sisterhood is going through life together.
Awesome. I love it. And so, essentially, I Got You is your declaration to be the strong friend to the strong friend.
Right. Yes. 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 Even when we don't even feel, because you think about sometimes the things that you're going through, you don't feel strong, So it's like, yeah, like you said, like being the strong friend to the friend, that's the strong friend. But in the moment, you're not feeling strong. You're not feeling like you can handle it. You're like, what is going on? But to be that person, like I said, that just says like, hey, like, I got you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of those hard things that God warned you about. Well, not warned you, but more so gave you the heads up about, that would have positioned you for where you are now. Like, give us a little bit of insight into some of those things you went through.
So, like I said, that was the thing end of 2016. So in 2017, it really was, it was a challenge in motherhood. This is when my youngest was diagnosed with ADHD. And so just trying to now bring a new dynamic into the space of parenting and motherhood. And also just within my relationship with my husband at the time, just trying to bring that dynamic into, like, how do we bring this all in and all together, and really just understanding how to now navigate this new space with my son and with his brother and with my husband and just as a mom, so it was in that space. And then I think it was with that, and again, working, being a mother in ministry, full-time job. Things were changing on my job. Responsibilities were increasing on my job. There was more demands on my job. And so I had to remember, God said, I got you. Like, don't worry about, like, I've got you. None of this has caught me by surprise. So just trust me. So that really caused a deeper dependence on God, because I knew, like, okay, everybody talks about this work-life balance and this balance and this balance. And I started to I'm like, balance is starting to get on my nerves, because I'm like, I can't balance it all. I'm like, I can't balance everything. So I really started to look into, like, I like to sometimes redefine for myself the trending, phrases, or, like balancing everything. And for me, I was like, I needed some type of a harmony in my life, because trying to balance and balance, I was like, it's not possible. So it was really trying to find out what kind of harmony can I bring to my life with all these different dynamics, and as my life is going into different levels. And really, too, it started to put a demand on my purpose, because I am one who was forever seeking, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? God, what are you calling me to do? What are you calling me to do? And so it started to put more of a demand on that, to really begin to see, like, what does he want me to do? And I think just out of all those different roles, as a mom, as a wife, as an employee, that's what kind of started me into this space of, like, I can't be the only person going through this. It can't just be me. Like, okay, I need to start writing about it. So that started my writing, and then that's what kind of got me into the blog.
Got you. And so, would you say that your challenging times made for your best content?
Absolutely. 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 I mean, I think I wrote about things about, anxiety and what to do when you're starting to experience anxiety. I talked about getting out of your comfort zone. I talked about perfection is the perfect lie, because I'm a reforming perfectionist and people pleaser. And, so I talked about what that looks like. talks about learning how to be humble sometimes, that you don't know it all. And so in certain spaces, you have to understand your position in certain spaces. Even though you're strong, you have a voice, you still have to respect authority and understand your position. And there's a way that you show up, that you can still be strong, yet you don't have to overpower in
Mm.
certain spaces. Oh, one of my favorites, I think, was Girl, Put Your Cape Down. We are not superwoman. We are dispelling the whole superwoman myth. I think that especially in our culture amongst Black women, we are expected to be superwomen. We're expected to be resilient all the time. We are expected to wear that strong woman cape, that strong woman role. And I think it has done us to a certain degree a disservice because it doesn't allow the world at large and even in our surrounding community and spaces to see us as vulnerable, to see us as soft, to see us as having needs because we're the ones always stepping up to meet the need. We're the one always stepping up to fix the problem. And so it doesn't allow space for us to just, for our humanness and our humanity and our emotions to be seen, to be celebrated, and to be acknowledged. So, yeah, so to say that it all came out of like real life experiences is absolutely the truth because I didn't know any other way to be but my authentic self. It was a push, it was a push, but God was like, you have to show up. You have to show up as you. Like, you
Mhm.
can't be anybody else but you. So these are your experiences, then write about them because there's going to be somebody that's going to be able to relate to what it is you're talking about.
Absolutely. And so if we're going on a journey here, let's say we are talking about the descent, right? Because I think of the challenging times, like everything's cool, and then things start to get crazy, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I need help, and then you start getting help, and then it gets better. So, like, what would you say were some of your signs that you needed help or that you were down, right? And because we, as that
Mm-hmm.
strong woman, we handling business. We just handling it.
Yes.
All right, the kids want to
Mm-hmm.
act up, we handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Job gets crazy, we handle it. But what are some of your signs that made you realize homegirl is down and I need
Mm,
help, to be able to come back from this, you have to realize that you are down and then be willing to
yeah.
say I need help. So what were some of those signs for you?
I think for me, it was again, I started experiencing anxiety and I started to isolate myself a little more. Um, I was getting a little snippy. I was getting a little snippy and having more attitude than usual, almost kind of like for no reason, for like the smallest things. And I really noticed like because my children were a little younger at the time. And so I started to really notice it like when I was like really like my frustration and my anxiety and my thoughts and everything that's going on was starting to kind of spill over into my motherhood. And so I was like, okay, like I am tripping. Like, what is going on? And two, I started to just feel like a heavy weight of just like sadness. Like, it was like one moment I'm up, next moment I'm down, and I couldn't just find like just an even kill, like a flow.
Right.
And so that's when I realized, like, okay, something, like something's up. Like, this is not how you normally show up. And I was starting not to like who I was.
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't like this. Like, I don't like who you're becoming. And so you get to a point of having to figure out, like, okay, like, what do we need to do? Like, what do we need to do? Because this version of you that's starting to show up is not serving you well and it's becoming a detriment to how you show up um, with your children, how you're showing up in your marriage, how you're showing up on your job, and really how you're showing up with yourself. And so I think those were the signs. Those were the signs for me that like I'm down. Sometimes they'll call it burnout when you're on your job, but just in life in general, for me, those were the signs that like, okay, we're crashing and we're burning kind of quickly.
Right. So,
Yeah.
one of the things that I think about when being in that space is a feeling of being trapped. Did
Mm.
you feel that? And what were some of the things that, you realize I'm down, you're feeling trapped. what were some of your first steps in climbing out of the hole? And I know that there are other things that you went through in the meantime, but when you really started to make your, like, poke your head out, like, what were some of the steps that you decided to take?
I felt trapped is a good word. I think I felt kind of stuck as well. Like you almost feel like paralyzed in your own space and you feel like life is just going on. Like it's like you're moving with life because you're doing. But also at the same time, it's like you feel stuck because you're also seeing life go on around you. And I think some of the first things I did was I needed to tell somebody. I wasn't really sharing with those closest to me how I was feeling, what I was going through. I was just still getting up, showing up like, hey, but on the inside, like I'm hurting. On the inside, like I don't know I really don't know what's going on here with me. And so that was one of the first steps was just letting somebody know, like, hey, I don't know what this is, but I'm not doing well. Asking for prayer. I just need somebody to just pray for me. Pray for me because there was a time like I really could not articulate what it was. I just knew I didn't feel right. Like
Yeah.
I don't feel right. I don't feel like myself. I like and that's all I had, And so when you have the right people surrounding you, that's enough. They were like, all right, cool. So talking to someone, I was a writer, so it got me back into journaling a lot. um, it got me back into journaling and just writing out my feelings, writing out what I was going through, what the day looked like. I call it unedited writing, to where, like, yeah, if you would go back in some of my journals and open it up, you'd be like, oh my, like, oh, she said that. Like, yep, said all of that. And but it's a release. It's a way. It's very therapeutic. It's a way to just get everything out of you instead of holding it all in. Because sometimes some things you may not feel comfortable telling even the closest of closest until you're able to process it and get it out yourself, and then you can go and maybe clean it up a little bit. Um, with the people that are closest to you. And so all this was in a span of a couple years from like 2006. So all of this was even like pre-COVID that I was going, just through. I think it was just a self thing of like what's happening with me. But yeah, I would encourage talk to someone, and writing for me were the first two steps that I needed to take to begin to like you said, peek my head out a little bit and see a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you had mentioned I got you kind of kicked off and came up in 2016. So between then and now, what are some of the other things that you have bounced back from or come back from? And you can just kind of bullet
I
list
think
them.
yeah. I think the major thing has been separation and divorce. I think that was pretty much kind of the major thing that happened in my life right during COVID. I like to think that all of us in some way have kind of bounced back from COVID itself because that kind of took a toll on, all of us. And so, yeah, I would think the separation and divorce really that's the major thing that I have that I went through and that I have bounced back from. And really it really is a continual, I don't like to necessarily say it's an event, but it is a continual thing. However, to be post divorce and on the other side of it is an absolute blessing, but it definitely was a process. And I think one of the most major things that I've had to go through and get through and come out on the other side well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so powerful because I feel like even in the midst of that, I was kind of around, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of
Hmm.
was able to
Hmm.
catch the back end or the beginning of your coming out
Yes.
of that space. And so again, my astonishment really is, seeing the joy in you and on you, knowing that you've come through something as traumatic as separation and divorce. So I want to hear you speak to your evolution through that process. Like what changed in you? Who are you now? What did you learn about yourself? What do you love about yourself now? Like all of that. I want all of that.
I will say through that process, yeah, it was quite the evolution. Like I sit back sometimes and say to myself, like, man, like, okay, you did that. um, so I think for me, it was the moment that it all kind of happened, or like I like to say, like the bomb was kind of dropped. I think in that moment, it was like I didn't know who I was anymore because my identity was so wrapped up in being a wife and being a mother and being married. And so at that point, it was like, okay, who am I? And so I instantly went into do. So, you're like, I gotta find a place to stay. I gotta get furniture. Now I have to learn how to do this on one budget. Like I said, this was top of COVID. So I've got to do academic management because homeschooling was not my ministry. I had to do academic management and all these different things. Because listen, it was a time. Um, and try to process what just happened. And so I really did not what had just happened. Because again, I needed to do. I just know I needed to again that superwoman mode. Like I gotta handle this. And so it took several months for me to get to a space to actually start to actually process grief and really focus on my healing because for me, like healing was not even like I wasn't even thinking about it. And so several months in, that's when I started to look at like, okay, you need to heal because you are eating like you have lost your mind. You are, although you're getting up because you had to, because I had to work still via Zoom, you're getting up, but you're not really up. You're dragging, you are, you know, you're not taking the best care of yourself, basically. You're not taking care of yourself. You know, I'm having several bottles of wine during the week, just
Yeah.
trying to really avoid dealing with it, I think, because you don't want to feel it. You don't want to feel the pain. You don't want to think about it. And I've got these two children, young men that I got to look at every single day. So again, we tell ourselves, I have to be strong for. And it's always the for is always for somebody else.
Mhm.
And never, I got to be strong for me, or I just need to not even be strong for me. I need to just be there for me. And so it took one day of just, I was in my home and I was just worshiping. And eventually I just let it all out. And I mean, I wept and I wept and I wept. I could not stop. And I just finally just I like cried out to God, like, like, why me? Like, why me? Why now? Why this? And, I just said, I can't. I was told him, listen, I can't do it. I can't take it. I just can't. And I think that was the moment to where I was able to really then tap into a different space because I was finally able to let it out and actually be that vulnerable with God to say, like, I cannot do this. And, it was pretty much God was like, finally, finally, because you're right. You can't. I can. You cannot. And
Right.
so that was kind of the turning point in my healing to where I could start focusing on, instead of doing so much, focusing on being and being with my feelings, being with my emotions. And so I got into therapy and that was a game. I like to call it one of my game changers. That was a game changer for me for sure. Having someone I can talk to, that they can walk you through how you feel. They can give you a different perspective, a different lens, a different scope outside of yourself, but to bring you back to yourself. And
Mhm.
so in that I continue to write, in that I continue to invest in myself. Um, I had always wanted to be a speaker. I had always wanted to, blog. I got back into blogging and I began to start to feel like myself. I remember, in one of my blogs, the Lord revealed it to me, like, you're dealing with a spirit of rejection, because I wasn't feeling confident anymore, because this person that I've known all my life, the person that I got some validation from, no matter how much or how little, but something, is no longer here. And
Right.
so I'm like right at the top of launching the blog. And I'm like, okay, God, I've launched the blog. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then bam, this happens. Like, what? So it totally like shot my confidence.
Right.
But again, it was a spirit of rejection that I was dealing with. And so I needed to be able to deal with that, to understand, like I said at the top, for women to know that no matter what you've gone through, what your past is, who has walked out on you, it doesn't define you. It is never going to change God's purpose for your life and what He intended for you. And so He didn't cause it. He allowed it, but He wasn't the cause of it. But like He says, He's going to work everything for your good. So He's going to get the good out of what you're going through. So I just really had to start to understand those things. And once I began to understand those things, it made it a little better each moment, each day, each week, to get up and go through, to get up and invest in myself, to get up and do something, because I started to realize, like, okay, this can be bigger than me. There's purpose in what I've gone through, and I'm not the only one. And so you just begin to start, when you focus on your healing and you do it in a healthy way, you start to begin to see God put the pieces of the puzzle together. And when you're real with Him, I'll say that when you're very real with Him, because there were days I was like, God, I don't like this. This sucks.
Yeah.
This is real ghetto right here. I'm not feeling none of this. You saw what they did. What's up?
Right.
And then I would end it with, but I trust you. Like, okay, but I trust you.
Yeah.
And so, when you can get to that place, it does something. It does something for you, and you can begin to see, like, okay, God, you're moving, and you're doing something, and you're using me. So, it's this, it's the, like, why God, and God is like, well, but why not you?
Yeah.
I've built you for it. It's hit your doorstep because I've built you for it. And so I had to really just take on that revelation, and, it was like, okay, like, all right, here we go. Here we
Yeah.
go. And, so that's gotten me to this place. I think everything has just played a part, and just being obedient to Him. I'll say that much too. Listening to what He says, being obedient, taking the rest when you need to take the rest. Don't do when He tells you not to do, go when He tells you to go. That has also been, that's been important, because I could look back and see how my moments of obedience have played out to get me to where I am now. Again, even when I didn't like it,
Yeah.
even when I didn't like it, it's got
So,
me here.
tell us how important grace is in the comeback process. How important is grace?
Grace is, like, grace is so important, especially giving yourself grace.
Mhm.
I think when you are able to give yourself grace, you're able to go at a pace that's just right for you. Because when you're giving yourself grace, you're letting yourself know that it's okay. You're letting yourself know that you're okay. And you're showing up for yourself in a way. I want to get this out the way I hear it in my head. When you get to a certain space where God is using you, and you see yourself healing, and you're becoming the best version of yourself daily, quite honestly, that version of yourself that you see, it's so important to give her grace, because when you don't, you're taming the version. When you don't show yourself grace, and you're not kind to yourself, then you're going back to a version of yourself that you no longer are. And I always like to say, it's really that particular version of yourself, that was life kind of shaped that version. Life kind of told you that's who you are. But at the end of the day, the best version of yourself, that's who you've always been. That's who God said that you were before the foundation of the world. And so to give yourself grace means you're honoring this new version of yourself. To give yourself grace means that you are letting yourself know again that you are okay, that you got this, that you're doing well. And even in the comeback process, to extend other people grace, because some people will try to push you along further than you need to go. Some people will try to pull you back. Some people won't understand your process. Some people won't understand why you're doing what it is you're doing. How can you do this? Some people are like, but they did this to you and this, that, and the third. And you have to allow, you have to give people grace because they may not be able to catch up to the space where you are. They may not understand this new version of you, and that's okay too. That's okay too. And so you give them grace as well. But it's important to have that posture when you're on your comeback journey, because it keeps you positioned as the best version of yourself.
Mhm. So, because you are a writer and a creative, and so am I have a challenge for you.
Ooh,
Okay.
okay.
So, I want us to speak to the woman who is down right now. And she
Mm,
is, everyone else around her is so used to her being good that nobody's checking on her and she is fighting silently. I want us to use the word grace and I want us
okay.
to go each letter and give her a word of encouragement from each letter.
Mm, oh, okay. Ooh, let me see. G. Um, I would say for G, goodness. Um, there's goodness even when it may not seem like what you're going through is good. It may not feel good, but when you take a moment, if you could just take a moment, there is some goodness because you're still breathing. There is some goodness because you still are present, you still are here. So there is some goodness. There's some goodness in your life. There's some goodness within you. Or I will say rest, because even when we are sometimes down and we're sad and it's heavy, just because we're not busy doing anything still doesn't mean we're resting. So give yourself rest, you know, rest while reading your favorite book if you have one, or watching a funny show, or just doing something that's just frivolous, quite honestly, or doing nothing at all, no distractions, and just be silent and be with yourself. Rest in that way allows you to be present with yourself and to get in touch with who you are and where you are. A. Ooh, these letters are interesting. like these letters, like that's fascinating. These letters are interesting. Um, A. Accepted. You are accepted by God. If no one else accepts you, you are accepted by God, and hold on to that, because he's the creator. He knows who you are. He knows where you are. He knows the plans that he has for you. He has accepted you. You don't need validation from external things, to the woman who is the believer. He's within you. And so he's within you, so acceptance is already within you. And accept yourself where you are, no matter where it is. You're down, you're out, you're feeling raggedy, feeling ratchet, you're feeling whatever it is you're feeling. Accept yourself where you are, because even in all of that, you are still beautiful, without apology and without exception. Accept yourself exactly where you are. Um, C. Hmm. C. You're covered. You are covered. Where you are has not caught God by surprise. And so you're covered. He's covering you. And my prayer is that you have people around you that are safe, that will cover you as well. And if they're trusted, let them know where you are, how you feel. Allow them to cover you. Allow them to step in. If you only have 20%, allow them to cover the other 80. And E. Say exceptional because when we're going through things in the midst of it, it seems as if it won't get better. It seems as if sometimes we don't know how we're going to get out of this. It seems as if there is no end in sight or no light at the end of the tunnel. Um, but there is. And when you begin to do the work, as I know that you will, and you begin to do it in a healthy way, what is in store for you is exceptional. It may not be grandiose. It may not be larger than life, but it'll be exceptional because it'll be your story. It'll be exceptional because it'll be you. It'll be exceptional simply because you can stand and say, I went through this, I got through this, and I'm standing on the other side. I'm standing well, I'm standing tall, I'm standing in my truth, I'm standing victorious, I'm standing in my power. And so I would say, with another E, be encouraged because it will, I can promise you, I'm standing in it myself. I can promise you that it will be exceptional and you are exceptional.
Look at that. Look at that.
Ooh,
See?
that was a
That
fun
was
challenge.
that was good. That was good. Now I'm gonna go. And no,
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
plan this, but I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of letters while you were going. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna share
We're-
this too. For me, G is give yourself permission to grow.
Mm,
Even though our challenges have been different, our life experiences are different. Now, when challenges arise, I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to grow from this. So let me hurry up and
yeah,
get these
yeah.
lessons so I can get out of this valley, right? So give yourself permission to grow. R is remember that you've done hard things before. Okay,
Mm,
because sometimes when you're in a
yeah,
thing, it feels like it's the worst thing ever. But remembering that you have done hard things before and you've made it through hard things before, you've survived
yeah,
hard things before. And
absolutely.
so you can make it through this thing. A for me is assemble the squad, and being
Mm-hmm.
mindful of who you need in your life at the times that you're going through. We're not meant to be alone. We're not meant to go through alone, right? And so I know for me, I don't, and maybe this has been the same for you, but like when I'm going through certain things, there are certain friends or certain people that kind of um, are illuminated more in those seasons. So
Yes.
just being mindful of who those people are. And also, the squad can be okay, in this season of life, I'm going through, I need to hire a house cleaner. I need to
Oh,
hire,
yeah, that's good.
a meal prep person because I just can't.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes.
need to hire a physical trainer, a personal trainer. That might
Mm-hmm.
be a part of your squad to help you get through. The therapist is a part of your squad, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
assemble the squad. And then C is commit to your healing. You gotta make a
Mm,
commitment.
that's good.
You can't just take one vitamin and be like, I'm all better. You gotta commit to it and nobody's gonna pull you out. You have to participate in that.
That's
And
good.
then E is, oh, expect to win.
Mm-hmm.
Expect to win. Um,
Absolutely.
Again, I've adopted this thing where, all right, God, if I'm going through, it must mean that there's something incredible, like you said, something exceptional
Exceptional.
on the
Yeah.
other side of this, right? Even if it is that better version of myself,
Mm-hmm.
that's a win, not just for me, but for the world. Okay.
Right. Right. Yes.
So that's what grace looks like to me. It's giving myself room and permission to grow. It is remembering that I've done hard things before. It
Yeah.
is assembling the squad. It's committing to my healing and expecting
I
to
love
win.
that. I love that.
Yeah, that was
That was
Jesus.
good.
That was Jesus. So Latoya, tell us what you have going on, what you're up to these days.
Ooh, boy, what am I up to? I'm up to a lot these days. I am up to a lot these days. So I am partnering with some amazing ladies, and we have come together to form a all women of color run media company, B3 Media, B3 Media TV, to where we are bold, brave, and bodacious creating content and streaming content that is reflective of who we are, for that woman to see herself, no matter what age, no matter what stage of life, social economic status, wherever she is, she can see herself reflected in the media. Our heart is to really have women of color represented well in this media space. And so I've taken my social media platform and my blog, I Got You, and I have turned it into Girl, I Got You, which will be a show that will be on our YouTube network, as well as I've partnered with one of the other ladies, and we are also doing a show for the singles out there. We are single in these streets. And so we are talking to the singles about how to just show up and live your best single life while also preparing yourself and understanding what it is if you want to be married or be married again. And, some of the shenanigans there. I have, let's see, I'm here today with you. And I will also be on another podcast this evening for Where Are They Now episode, Faith Filled Moms on YouTube and Facebook. And I'll be speaking at a women and teens conference in June and hosting a workshop there. So God has been faithful. And a lot of these things, like I was talking about with obedience, sometimes God will tell you to do something and you won't really understand why. You'll feel like it's not connected to anything that I'm actually going through, God. But I believe that my obedience has just landed me in these different opportunities, because I can say several of these opportunities since the end of last year have come to me. I wasn't thinking about any, like they have literally come to me. And so, not to say that you don't invest in yourself, you don't do the work, but I think because I've invested in myself, I took your cohort. I did Talk Like a Boss with Pastor Joy, just different ways of you investing in yourself. Don't take those things for granted. Don't take them lightly. Take the information that you learned I'm just, and just do what he says do. Just do what he says do. Invest in yourself, and invest in yourself, in your purpose, in your health, in your emotional wellness, in your mental wellness, in your physical body, all those things. And I'm telling you, like he places you where you need to be. So I'm grateful. I think back, like if you would have told me in April of 2020 that in less than 5 years after going through separation and divorce, this is where I would be, I would not have believed a word of it at all, at all. And so it's all sinking in a little bit. I'm still kind of getting used to it. Woo, okay, oh, all right, here we are. So let's go. But I'm excited, and like I said, God is faithful. He's good. He is.
Hey,
Yeah.
amen. Amen. So thank you, first of all, for being here. I'm so honored to be a part of the journey. And
Yes,
so just
absolutely.
tell us how we can connect with you. Tell us how we can, book you to speak, get your books, all those things.
So you can connect with me on social media. I am I_GOTTU on Instagram, and that's more my purpose page. And you can also reach me on Instagram at _ Latoya Danielle. So that's LATOYADANIELLE. And a lot of some of my posts and content that I post, I collaborate with my I Got You page. But the Latoya Danielle, you get a little bit more insight just into my personality, my family, just me as a whole. To book me for speaking engagements, you can email me at girl.igottu@gmail.com. And I'm also on Facebook as I Got You, so IGOTTU on Facebook as well. So that's how you can reach me.
Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Ladies, again, I know that you got something out of this. If nothing else, put it in your back pocket for a rainy day, or share it with a sister, share it with a strong friend that you know is struggling and going through, so that she has hope and she knows that this is not the end, that this is not where she's going to stay
Absolutely.
forever, but this is
Yes.
literally passing through.
Yes,
and that she don't have to be the strong friend by herself. So
absolutely.
thank you guys for tuning in. I will see y'all next week on another episode of the Brittnee Smith podcast. Hashtag strong friend summer. Bye.